Assalamualaikum and hi, I am Sayang Elyiana Amiera binti Helmey, along with my team members Chong Kah Wei and Saidah binti Saiful Bahari, will present our product, Go Study. There are few problems arose among students when they want to study, which are students cannot differentiate the reliable study materials from online resources, wasting time in finding poor learning materials, and students do not aware on their own preferred learning style. Upon all the problems, we decided to develop an educational application with the goal of to help students study effectively, to provide reliable study materials for the students based on their preferred learning style, and to improve the achievement of the students in academic. The next one will be the knowledge representation truth table. There are three main elements in this table, which are learning style detector, time set detector, and resource recommendation. Both learning style detector and resource recommendation are divided into auditory, visual, read or write, and kinesthetic. This is because these are the four elements in knowing someone's learning style, whether they are out of this four style or multimodal. I will briefly explain the summary of the knowledge representation truth table just now. When the learning style detector detects the student's learning style either as auditory learner, and or visual learner, and or reading or writing learner, and or kinesthetic learner, as well as the study time is set, then the type of resources recommendation will be either in auditory, and or visual, and or reading or writing, and or kinesthetic. When the learning style detector detects the student's learning style as auditory learner, and or visual learner, and or reading or writing learner, and or kinesthetic learner, but the study time is not set, then no recommendation of resources will be provided. The last one is when the learning style detector does not detect the student's learning style and the sum is whether set or not, there will be no recommendation of resources provided. I will pass the next part to my team members.
Next is state and action. The first state is the learning style detector will detect whether or not the user has a learning style. If the user learning style is detected, the user is allowed to proceed with setting their study time. If there is no learning style detected, the application will not be able to proceed. The second state is the time set detector will detect whether the user has set the study time. If the time is set, the application will activate the resource recommendation. If no time is set, the application will not be able to proceed. The third state is if both the learning style detector and time set detector is activated, the application will show the preferences of the user's learning styles to resource recommendation. It is either auditory type learning resource recommendation, visual type learning resource recommendation, read and write type learning resource recommendation, or kinesthetic type learning resource recommendation. Next is the problem formulation. The initial state is learning style is not answered. The action is students need to answer the survey on learning style in order to know their preferred learning styles are either auditory and or visual and or read and write and or a kinesthetic. The other action is students need to set the time duration to study. The goal is recommended study resources are given based on preferred learning style and timer set. The path cost is 1 unit per action. This is the details of it. Next is the action graph. The learning style detector will if the learning style detector is present, then the time set detector will be on. If not, the time set detector will be off. Then if the time set detector is present, then the resource recommendation will be on. If not, the resource recommendation will be off. Then the resource recommendation will show all four types of the resource recommended. Next is the PEACE model. Performance measure. The first one is accuracy and on recommending desired learning resources. The second one is efficiency of getting desired learning resources. The third one is improvement of students' academic performance. And the environment is room, table, chair, laptop, or smart table or iPad. And the actuator is test for detecting learning style, time setting detector, and screen of the device. The sensor will be mouse, keystroke, learning style detector, and time setting detector. And this is a piece diagram, the details of it, the sensor, the actuator, the environment, and the agent.
Okay, so I'm Chong Kah Wei, and now I would like to demonstrate the prototype. So once we open the application, there will be a login interface for us to log into the application. We need to enter the email and password at this interface. So for our prototype, we just click the text box of the email to input the required information. And then to show or hide the password, we can click on this icon. And then we click the sign in button. Okay, so for the first-time user, they actually need to do the learning style test for the application to identify the learning style. So this test actually consists of 16 questions, and here is the instruction given to us. So for this prototype, we just click anywhere at this interface to input for the answer. Okay, so after we finish answering the questions, we just scroll down and we click submit button at the bottom. Our system will actually calculate and generate the result for the learning style. So the learning style actually determined based on the highest scores obtained for each of the learning style, and we actually have 4 main types of learning style, including the visual, the oral or auditory, read or write, and also the kinesthetic. There will also be some cases which the user is having multimodal. There is more than one learning style. But for this user, we can see the user obtains the highest score for the visual. That's 14. Therefore, the user is identified as a visual learner. We can see there are actually characteristics and the preferred study way for the user as well in this interface. Okay, so here is the home page, and we are required to enter the subject for which we want to study as well as the study time. So in this case, since the study time is required for the application to proceed, if we do not enter the study time, a window will actually pop out to request us to enter for our study time. Okay, so based on the study time input, our system will calculate the study duration and find the learning materials which fits our learning style and most probably can be finished by us within the study duration. Okay, so here is where we apply the artificial intelligence concept. We implement the machine learning algorithms in which we take our learning style, study duration, and also subjects as features to predict the effective study materials for us. In this case, our algorithm will improve the accuracy of a recommendation on the effective learning resources based on our selection for the study material as well as the speed, our speed to complete for each of the learning material. So as you can see, here is the page which shows the recommendation list. Since the user is detected as a visual learner and the study duration that entered by the user is 4 hours, the application recommends a list of the artificial intelligence video that are suitable to their needs. So we can see the estimated time to finish for the learning resources is mentioned as well. All are estimated to be finished in 4 hours, which actually fulfill the desired study duration of the user. And then we click the first learning resource. Okay, so in this page, we can actually count down for our study time. We just input for our study duration and then click start studying. And now we can start learning. To minimize the video, we can just click on this icon. And then we can determine whether we want to pause the timer or end studying. If you want to pause the timer, we just click the time here, and then we can click again to restart the timer. If the study is ended, then the user will be directed to a page to conclude for their studying time, so the user can actually see how much duration they have spent to study today. Then we click OK. We will be directed to the home page. So this is basically the process for the user to get the study materials and study in this application. Okay, so now we can look at the navigation bar at the bottom. Let's click the history icon. And this page actually will show a list of the learning materials that have been studied before along with the total time to complete the particular learning materials. And then we click the account. Okay, so here shows the profile of the user. And then the learning style of the user is mentioned here as well. So to check again the details of the learning style, the user can just click here. Okay, so we can check again the details of the learning style. And then the user can redo the learning style test as well if they think that they have answered incorrectly previously. Now we click the logout button and then we will be directed to the login page again. So this is how actually our prototype works, and that's all for our presentation. Thank you.